Hello everyone, welcome back to a new replay cast. Here we're going to be having a game between, in the bottom right spawning as the blue Protoss player ShoWTimE, and in the top left spawning as the red Protoss player GunGFuBanDa. A little bit of a German match here, as we have ShoWTimE opening up with a very early gate scout, being rather afraid of the gateway first, which is the single gate expand, which has been kind of coming back in PvP lately. It's one of those builds that it pops back up every now and again, and it feels like there's not a perfect answer to it. There are a lot of answers that possibly can work, but I don't feel like there's an answer where we're like, wow, this 100% of the time actually beats it. At least in my opinion, that's what it tends to feel like playing against one gate expand. And now the reason why we see gate scouts against that is if you gate scout and someone tries to go for a gate expand, you can actually block your opponent's nexus, so it won't go down, and then your opponent needs to build a zealot. He's only on a single gate. You have quite some counterplay with your two gates, so there's a lot of options your opponent needs to take into account. That's why you see people that are very confident in the PvP matchup and like, alright, the only way I'm losing is if my opponent gets a very big lead. They'll often do gateway scouts, and someone like ShoWTimE, he does tend to feel very confident in this matchup, and then we do see him do those gateway scouts, first gateway scout, of course. Now here we see another ShoWTimE classic, which is the Stalker into Sentry. He's been absolutely loving these builds lately. Just the double unit that has some map presence, whether that's Stalker or Adept, doesn't really matter. And then he'll go straight into Sentry, and he likes to even build a third Sentry in this case. So he gets really good scouting. And the thing about opening with Sentries as well is that it gives you... Actually, it was a mistake. That really was a mistake. It gives you a lot of money for a fast nexus and for probes, because Sentries hardly cost any minerals, just gas. And naturally in PvP, you start floating gas very quickly. So... very often we see this from ShoWTimE, very often, and even when he loses those sentries, more often than not we see him go back into that magical number of 3 for that constant information flow for him. I'm not sure what GunGFuBanDa is doing here. He's taking the long way around. 2 bottle whiskey for the way. But I still would. Okay. 2 gateways finishing up here for ShoWTimE, and ideally in this matchup you don't want to warp in too many units. You can warp in 2 adepts, I can kind of dig that. Not only for defensive purposes, but mainly for offensive purposes. I don't actually... What? I feel like you should have let that finish. Or not block off at least. Yeah, just because if you have 3 Stalkers, or 2 Stalkers and 3 Sentries, if the Adept player actually lets it finish, I believe he'll get 2.5. And that's none because there's a battery. So not enough workers. 2.5 or 3 workers, depending a bit on the positioning. But the DPS of the Stalker Sentry Force is good enough. Now, these 2 adepts are of course going to try to get into the main base here. They're just testing each other, see if they're quick enough with the walling. Both players do seem to be, but GunGFuBanDa not fast enough with the cancel. As ShoWTimE is... it's actually gonna end up killing 3 workers. Second Stalker wasn't in position. I think that only should have been 2. That's okay. ShoWTimE. So that's actually a good trade for ShoWTimE, right? He gets 3 workers, loses 2 adepts, and he kills 2 adepts on the other side. So very nice start here for ShoWTimE when it comes to the adept battle. But really, it doesn't matter too much in my opinion if you think about it. It's gonna be 2-3 workers. It's a minor lead, maybe a faster gateway for ShoWTimE, something like that. We do have a faster nexus for ShoWTimE as well. Third gas was also a little bit faster, and this is really the standard. You want to get a third base as soon as possible so you can start mining, because you oversaturate your natural really quickly in PvP. So the faster you can get that third base down, the better it is. And really there's no threat from your opponent, unless perhaps they skip Forge and go 4-gate, that they might be able to attack you. There's a lot of chrono boost on that +1, hey? That's a lot faster than ShoWTimE's now. ShoWTimE also trying to chrono boost it, but yeah, there's definitely a difference, like a 15 to 20 seconds difference there, which might actually lead to a timing here in which GunGFuBanDa, not with +1 but perhaps with +2, will be able to get a pretty decent attack. Now ShoWTimE will be going into 6 gateways, staying on that 3 gas. Now you might be wondering, why doesn't he take that 3rd gas? Because a lot of the time these days Protoss players want to be staying on Blink Stalkers for quite a while, and you see the gas count when only building Blink Stalkers tends to remain rather high, so no real need at this moment for a 4th or even a 5th and a 6th gas. I see +2 here on the way for GunGFuBanDa, no charge yet. We do see charge on the side of ShoWTimE, who also is up 2 gateways. We see only 4 gateways here for GunGFuBanDa. Worker count slightly in favor of ShoWTimE, of course, after that early adept trade. And here comes a move out by GunGFuBanDa. This is a interesting move out. I don't think they should do really anything. There is a fake prism, I guess. Yeah, this is a GunGFuBanDa move, by the way. This is really a classic. Yeah, okay. Forces a warp in the main base, and it's then gonna blink into the main base. I'm not entirely sure about these moves. Blink finish up for ShoWTimE, so pylon for a stalker, pylon for 2 stalkers. ShoWTimE will lose a stalker as well, so pretty even trade here if you ask me. ShoWTimE's gonna keep chasing. I'm not a massive fan of these moves. He should not walk up this ramp. Alright. I feel like walking up ramps with this is very forward blinks. Because you don't know what's there, you know? If there's a couple of sentries and there's 1 immortal, all of a sudden you lose 3-4 stalkers for free and you lose your map control. Now ShoWTimE pretty much as map control takes a 4th base really quickly. Starts going into 5, maybe even 6 gases. Yes. Robo Bay going down for both players as well. Double Robo for ShoWTimE. Dark Shrine going down for GunGFuBanDa. And we're not seeing a Dark Shrine yet on the side of ShoWTimE. Now the gateway count here is rather low for GunGFuBanDa, which means his unit count actually is going to be quite good, because you saved a little bit of money. Instead of getting gateways, you can get more units, but it means your reinforcement abilities, your harassment abilities with prisms are all going to be a little bit worse. So it's a lot of the time that's an investment in the short term rather than in the long term. When you do skip those extra gateways, you can get extra units, you can invest that into more cannons, that type of stuff. But ooh, Prism being sent out here for ShoWTimE. No gravitic drive on the way yet though. One of the nice things in PvP, at least for me it feels like, when you play Disruptor Wars, is that it feels so freeing to not have to get thermal lens on your robotics bay. You can immediately start getting your secondary upgrades from the robo bay, so either the observer speed or the prism speed. But we're not actually seeing either player do that, and especially not having observer speed surprises me a little bit, because this observers are really slow, and with observer speed they become kind of fast and they're easy to spot a lot of areas with. We see an aggressive stance here coming out of GunGFuBanDa. Double adept moving in towards this 3rd base. 2 stalkers getting warped in a coup. Good Propo, very quick reaction there. Stalkers moving forward out of GunGfu. No chasing blink, no, but a good disrupt. Oh my god, that was insanely close. You see just some zoning shots here coming out of ShoWTimE. These are not shots meant to really do anything, just to give some vision. Don't forget that the Purification Nova does give some extra vision, and also it can zone out your opponent's army. So if you don't want them to go somewhere, you throw out 1 or 2 of them shots and you should be fine. Blink TT coming out of ShoWTimE very swiftly here. Low cannon count for GunGfu, I have to give him that. There's what, 2? 3 cannons, another battery being added for ShoWTimE as well. So ShoWTimE actually in PvP is one of the most passive players I know at the moment. Loves to get into those very passive Blink Dark Templar Disruptor games where there's almost no trades happening between Blink Stalker Disruptor on both sides, and then he likes to go into Tempest. Now Tempest of course is going to be delayed the more DTs you build. And he's building a decent amount of DTs. There's 6 DTs here once Blink finishes. There's a couple of bases that I'm looking at here for GunGFuBanDa. Perhaps all bases bar this one. I mean, 2 cannons, 1 battery. I'm not too sure about it. I'm not sure about GunGFuBanDa with a supply deficit. Did I miss a trade? No, I don't think so. Perhaps a slightly worse micro. We see both players at 77 supply Stargate coming down here for ShoWTimE, and really not much of anything happening here.
They're attacking our base.
They are attacking our base. As we have... What is this? Income. Pretty similar disruptor squads as well. I mean, this is not going to be able to do anything. In order to beat 3 cannons this spread out, as an aggressor with... Oh my god. ShoWTimE's even moving units in position there. How does he know? His intuition, his sense of where the game is at is absolutely insane. And he's trying to move forward now with Blinkstalker Sentry. I would like to see him a little less passive though, because you kind of want to get your opponent out and about, you know? If you're going in with your DTs, you want there to be some distraction. That's exactly what he just did. Bad blink by ShoWTimE. Not what you want. He's of course still going to get the cannons. Only 2 cannons against 11 DTs. It's going to be no match. 18 workers go down in a matter of seconds and the DTs just walk out. Now, observer speed is helping catching up, but this also puts ShoWTimE in a very nice position here with his army. He might get flanked though by these disruptors of GunGFuBanDa. Oh my god, are you joking? Oh, actually, the first disruptor shot by GunGFuBanDa I feel like should have been way bigger, but he kind of... Wait, what? Particular hate for this rock. That's a lot of damage on the rock real fast. Couple of DTs still walking around now. That fight was definitely good for GunGFu, right? Yeah, just slightly. 1400 up. It was 1200 before, but of course the workers lost and the lost income connected to that do make up for a little bit of that. Now you see GunGFuBanDa quickly going up to more probes. Tempest are on the way now for ShoWTimE, who was like, alright, I lost a bunch of units. My disruptor count is low, but I do have Tempest on the way. He has a good setup with cannons, batteries. He's adding a couple more cannons here. Supercharged batteries will be able to save this, I think. Yeah, definitely will be. And a bunch of DTs are gonna go down here, which sucks for GunGFu, who isn't all that rich, especially in gas. I feel like he's been lacking some gas mining. Yeah, okay, he's only on 7 gas. And I don't think he's aware that there's Tempest on the way yet. Usually just having a mothership by its... Oh! This is gonna be a big hit. No, just gonna get a single disruptor. Felt like a big hit. Good snipes here coming out of GunGFuBanDa actually. He's gonna get a Tempest, gonna get 2-3 disruptors as well. What was ShoWTimE doing with his army? He's completely out of position. I feel like GunGFu has an opportunity here to do something. Needs to blink forward, needs to blink forward. Oh, too afraid. If he blinks forward here, this is the final disruptor almost now. There's one more on the way, but I think GunGFu had a really big opportunity here to do something. A lot of the supply that ShoWTimE has is in production, wasn't actually there. This is a massive army. There was a good disruptor count. I think GunGFu should have pounced on that opportunity, but he was too afraid, too conservative in his movement. Now for ShoWTimE, his map vision is pretty much gonzo at this point. He's gonna need some oracles. He's gonna need to start rebuilding some cannons on that outside base. He needs to be careful with these Tempests. Without oracles, Tempests aren't that great. And especially if you don't have a mothership either. They're kind of exposed. They're not that slow, but they're just not brilliant to have around. Only +1 on them for now. No secondary upgrades yet. Don't forget, I believe it's 6 Tempest that can one-shot a disruptor. So that's really a number that if you get to that number, then as a Protoss, you're gonna be pretty happy. If the other guy doesn't have anything. We have a run-by of GunGFuBanDa going back to his own base. I feel like the setup here for ShoWTimE is simply too good. There's nothing that GunGFuBanDa can do with run-bys that these cannons and batteries won't stop. And another thing I really liked about ShoWTimE, and especially in this base, is the spread of the cannons. And it makes it hard to get blinked or blunkered upon, whatever you want to call it. A little bit less so in these outside bases, where usually the cannon placement is more hasty, because there's more interactions happening between the armies. But here you see really this cannon placement is so beautiful. Even having a mineral line and a pylon to kind of block off. Here, like I said, it's a little bit less, but still fine cannon placement, of course. I wish you had a battery covering a little bit more, but does not seem to be the case. Actually, GunGFuBanDa is getting a lot of work done here with his run-by, but super battery to the rescue. And I mean, this cannon is never gonna die. These DTs are never gonna die, and ShoWTimE clears this up rather easily. Now, Disruptor count of 9 here for, oh my god, a disruptor flank. This is what we call a GunGfu classic. Oh my god, almost hits. Big Stalker Ball is gonna be, actually hits nothing. Disruptor flank not quite working out, does end up losing one disruptor as well. We have these reinforcement DTs being picked up right now, a couple of disruptors of GunGfu, so that's 3 disruptors that he's gonna end up losing if no, that last one does not fall. And GunGfu decides he's, at least so far, not gonna be going into air. He's getting +1 air upgrades, he has a Stargate, he has a fleet beacon even. I wouldn't mind seeing a mothership. Oh my god, that was a nice disruptor hit there coming out of her man. Well, big disruptor hit is not gonna connect. Is there more disruptor hits here for ShoWTimE? I don't think so. Mothership is gonna fall. A lot of these Tempest are gonna fall as well. This is a big win here for GunGFuBanDa, who I feel like sometimes focuses on the wrong things a little bit. Here in this case, I think going for the disruptors might have been the play. I mean, he gets all the Tempest, which is nice. It kind of evens out the game, but I feel like he was going to get those Tempest no matter what. And if you get the disruptors, you might be able to actually do more. Now you're going to still have to battle your opponent's disruptors. We see ShoWTimE coming in with a flank. Good disruptor balls coming out are going to be able to zone out the army, at least temporarily, of ShoWTimE. How many balls do we still have? How many purification novas are alive? 0 here for GunGfu. It seems like, who's sitting on a lot of cash here. How many gates does GunGfu have? 14 gateways against just the 8 of ShoWTimE. So reinforcement ability is going to be off the charts here for GunGfu, who's leaving his disruptors behind. He's gonna get some good shots here, and I think these are actually valuable trades. This army needs to start fighting the top side. Big disruptor hits are not gonna connect. I feel like this game is absolutely bonkers. Tempest goes down. We have no clue. Units lost. Looks good for GunGFuBanDa. I'm surprised. I actually am very surprised that this looks good for GunGFuBanDa. He's finding trades against someone playing Tempest. Now, if you look at this map, I didn't actually think about that too much, but the bases are so spread out that if you compare it to a map with, for example, pillars, where it's a lot easier to keep those bases safe, here there's a lot of opportunity still for movement. Now this is safe. You look at this base as GunGFuBanDa and you go, alright, you win. That's it, you know, like, I can't hold it. Perhaps this pylon is a vulnerability, powering what? Literally every cannon. But I mean, as GunGFuBanDa, you really want to blink on top of a pylon surrounded by 6 cannons and 2 batteries. Good stalker movement here by GunGfu, honestly. A thing that he does very well is he kind of moves into areas with stalkers where you wouldn't expect it to be possible. Now the Tempest count is growing and stalkers are becoming targets as well. And the way that ShoWTimE decides to play this is with a big count of disruptors, and then the rest of it just Tempest, mothership. And he has an anti-run by squad that he really just uses defensively. It's kind of interesting to see the different approaches here, where we have GunGFuBanDa with 2 armies that are stronger in a straight up fight, but over time the Tempest disruptor can whittle down any force, and also when backed up by cannons, can also really whittle down any force. I'm just afraid for ShoWTimE what happens if he gets blinked up on and he misses 1 or 2 good disruptor shots. I guess he has so many disruptors. He should always be able to get some connecting. Oh, I hear some trades going down here. Now GunGFuBanDa in some type of... Hello? No attacks on the retreat, I guess. I don't like this Tempest transition, actually. You're gonna go Tempest against a guy that already has 9 out. So there's gonna be such a long time now where GunGfu basically has a way worse army. He's gonna get a mothership, which I do like. I think motherships are valuable just for the recall ability as well. You can make some cool plays with that, but... Actually, I have a Prism. Prisms in the late game in PvP are kind of weird. Usually they don't do much of anything, honestly, because the reinforcement ability of Toll's recall and everything is just too good at defending Prism attacks. ShoWTimE poking forward is gonna be able to cancel this base. It's then actually gonna decide to expand here. That'd be kind of a wild play. This anti-run by squad is doing wonders here as GunGfu was sleeping for a little bit. Wakes up. Wake up! Better make up. Bunch of cannons going down here. 5 with a battery, wouldn't mind a second pylon, but once these cannons go up, this area of the map, unless disruptors start showing up to the party, is just safe. Like this whole area, the top side, has been cut off, and ShoWTimE has similar plans here for that bottom side. Right now the Tempest of GunGFuBanDa get revealed, and ShoWTimE is like, wait, are you serious? Really? 9 versus 6, you wanna fight? You wanna clash? And he's gonna need some oracles here with this army. He has an oracle already with this army actually. He could just fight at this point. I'm surprised ShoWTimE is so extremely passive with his lead here. As both players with very similar armies, unit loss tab, 125 resources removed from one another. That's actually insane. And now these Tempests have an absolutely crazy position. Both are researching the tectonic destabilizers, which of course means that Tempest all of a sudden can basically one-shot batteries. Good movement here by GunGfu, but he needs to go into this area so he has some batteries to defend himself. What is the Tempest count at 9 against 8? This is possible for GunGfu to fight, honestly. I love the disruptors here. This is a good play. For 2 reasons. One, he needs to get something to get rid of the cannons, but it also adds some dynamic into those run-bys where if you're not paying attention as the defender, all of a sudden you can lose like 7-8 DTs against like a single disruptor shot. So a very good move, and he's trying to destabilize this region of the map. There's some natural gas there. Like the true American that GunGfu is. It's also natural resource, and I was like, it's time to inject myself into this. Another disruptor shot will not do much of anything. 2 disruptors of course can one-shot a cannon. So it's an important number to basically have in your run, right? So you can just clear up those cannon lines a lot easier. And we see ShoWTimE actually being really passive, and ShoWTimE is a player that wants to do anything to just get the game as boring and passive as possible in PvP, and play this really slow style where it's all gonna be about the Tempest control and just patient decision making. And GunGFuBanDa is a little bit more of a flashy player, I would say, where he's really into it. Like all these run-bys, we see him trying to make moves with army movement, and probably not too confident in his fighting abilities. He gets a decent shot off there, but the vision of ShoWTimE is fantastic here as well. Good oracle. Actually only gets the mothership. I'm surprised by that. Now once again here, this is a good run by. This is a scary run by. That was an almost hit. This is a crazy blink forward here by ShoWTimE. He doesn't have enough units for this, right? Does he? Perhaps with a Zealot Warpin is going to be able to save this. Now, I just love to see a second disruptor being added to this little composition. 11 probes went down for GunGFuBanDa. I think that is a good thing. And I'm going to explain you why. I think GunGfu, what he needs is a lower probe count so he can get a bigger army. I think actually having big mining at this point is pretty much irrelevant because both of them have so many resources banked up. And GunGfu, if he just wins a fight, he can actually push to kill a base. And I think winning fights is the most important thing. We see 10 Tempests now for GunGfu. He's going to be able to keep building more. You see 3 more Tempests on the way, still has 15 free supply as well. I like this for GunGfu. I'm a big fan of this move as well. This switch from that bottom side. Oh, I love this. This prism was so brilliant. This prism was so brilliant. Because what GunGfu wanted to do here was he pushes forward into one area. I almost wanted to pause the game to just... Okay, so what he does, he forces a trade in one area, and I think GunGfu was gonna be forcing a favorable trade. And then if you force a favorable trade, because you have less workers, it means that ideally you finish the game ASAP. So what he does is he then warps in, he's gonna lose some units, he warps in a full warp in his opponent's base, and as a response, ShoWTimE needs to do the same thing, so he can't actually reinforce his own fight, which means he will lose the fight, and then he's just defending his base, and he's gonna lose 1, maybe even 2 bases. The Prism did die, and I think that's the reason why we're not seeing GunGfu push. But I actually think that type of move is so sick, where when you have lower workers, a lot of the time you can take favorable trades, but then the opponent's reinforcements show up, 12 stalkers, and the trade kind of evens out. But if you have an aggressive warp in, your opponent needs to make the decision, hey, do I either save my main base, or do I start reinforcing this extra base? And this type of play is extremely strong. I believe that's what GunGfu had planned. And you see now, with that lower worker count, GunGfu is actually in a massive lead. When we're looking at these Tempests, I think ShoWTimE is in a good position if he can drag the fights out. If he can make sure to trade 1 Tempest for 1 Tempest, and then a Mothership for a Mothership, and then a Tempest for a Tempest and a half maybe. And he doesn't even need to be making the better trades, because he's up a freaking base. But what he does need to do is he needs to drag out this fight for as long as possible. And GunGfu, he needs to bounce. GunGfu is ready now, this is it. He's actually gonna sacrifice more props. I think this is a massive error of judgment, and it makes no sense to show your opponent that you're freeing up more supply. That's more supply that he isn't even using immediately either. So we see there's still 8 empty supply here for GunGfu. Disruptor hits back and forth, and this is exactly what GunGfu wants. I think ShoWTimE is struggling right now to get anything done. He's building 4 more Tempests, but it's a little bit late, honestly. Where's that extra army of GunGfu? There's 3 stalkers here, 15 workers are gonna go down for ShoWTimE, and this is what I was talking about. This base is just gonna fall, GunGfu is gonna take it, and now ideally GunGfu would be fighting, and that's why the Prism in the main base, I think, was so insanely sick. Now, we're actually gonna even up the Tempest count, which is cool. I almost even up the Tempest count. Slight armor lead still for ShoWTimE, by the way. Look at these upgrades. Holy crap. They almost got every single upgrade. They don't have thermal lens, I guess. And no flux veins. And no glaives either. Or storm. Never mind. They don't really have a lot of upgrades. I love these little trades, by the way. That was very forward there by GunGFuBanDa. I think he was going for a Mothership snipe. He still is up 3 Tempest, by the way. But he needs this next... Oh, it cancelled. A bit sloppy. GunGfu doesn't have that much money anymore. He needs to start fighting. Units lost pretty much even, but ShoWTimE's been mining so much more for so long now already. Oh, more probes being sacrificed here on GunGfu's side. Oracle goes down. GunGFuBanDa with the Oracle. 20 Tempest to 17. It's funny, every time they use one of the revelations, they lose an Oracle for free. I think he might be able to get the Mothership. That was really close. 22 to 18. Better reinforcement abilities here for ShoWTimE, of course. A little bit more money. 16 gateways for him as well. I wouldn't mind seeing him throw down 5-6 more gateways. Really, the only advantage ShoWTimE has right now is money. Which means if in a one-on-one fight, GunGfu in theory should be winning, right? He has a better army, he's more Tempest. So the only thing that ShoWTimE has should be better reinforcements. Now, ooh, that was close. Oh, actually a mistake there by GunGfu. I believe lost a Tempest. No, he lost his Mothership. Mothership got 1 shot. So did the Nexus. Oh, GunGfu is very indecisive what he wants to do with this force. Gets an Oracle, gets a Tempest. Here we go. Oh, he's just A-moving? He's not focus firing or what? He's actually just A-moving. What is this? Is he gonna get a shot on the Disruptor? No way. No zoning shots. Here comes another revelation. There's no revelation right now covering the army of GunGfu. This is a massive advantage. If he gets the first shot off, first of all, he should get a nexus. He's out of money. There's no cash left. He needs to fight now. If he doesn't fight now, he'll just lose the game. He needs to fight now. That's a good... this is another oracle. Yes, this is good for GunGfu. One more shot, one more shot. No, he attacks disruptors. He's just A-moving. 19 versus 19 at this point already. He keeps just... Rather than right-clicking single Tempest, goes for the mothership here. But now the reinforcement of ShoWTimE should be way too good. Because there's actually no reinforcement at all for GunGFuBanDa. 16 against 16. Yeah, ShoWTimE's building 6 more Tempest. He's like, alright, you can suck it. What a weird game. What a weird game. Now both players are just A-moving, which I guess is just great for... I'm not sure what actually the correct call is. I guess you have to select, you A-move with a certain amount, and then you just... Oh my god. 10 versus 6, 10 versus 5, 180 supply against 92, GG gets called, ShoWTimE wins. What an absolutely insane game. This is actually one of the longest PvPs I've seen in my life. What a sick game. So cool to see these clashing styles where initially GunGFuBanDa didn't want to go into Tempest, and then in the end he does, but Tempest control just a lot worse than what ShoWTimE had, and control of the map, the amount of cannons that ShoWTimE built this game is absolutely insane. So, good games. I hope you did enjoy this. Don't forget to subscribe or like my video, and we'll see you all next time for a new one. Bye bye.